Welcome back to Inside Politics. Our guest today is Linda Peek Schacht. She's from Lipscomb University. She's with the Sue and Nelson Andrews Leadership Institute out there at the university. Linda, we were talking a little bit about the situation with Mrs. Clinton. Her use of emails while she was in Secretary of State's office continues to be a problem. It's raised a lot of questions about trust and transparency for her. If you were working in her campaign, how would you advise her to diffuse that issue, particularly since it's continuing to be investigated by the Justice Department?
Well, because it is being investigated by the Justice Department, there's very little she can do except to continue to say what she has, and that is that any documents that are now classified were not classified when she was using them or when they were on her server.
And the Democrats have to hope she's right about that and that she doesn't get indicted while she's there.
Well, that's right. We could have a very interesting situation where, where she is still, as Donald Trump reminds people, still under investigation. And
her husband, former President Bill Clinton, seems to be an issue too. Trump, speaking of Trump, he brought that up. In fact, he almost seemed to be blaming her for the alleged infidelities that he was involved with, like she wasn't a strong enough spouse. And
I mean, I don't think that plays really well with women to blame the wife, to make her the victim. But I think Trump has his own issues that, if that becomes an issue in the campaign,
a lot of rocks to pick up and throw.
Yeah, I think there are lots of things there. But I do think the other issue that Senator Clinton, Secretary of State Clinton, has about releasing the transcripts of her speeches to Wall Street is one that she could handle pretty quickly. And unless there's something there, I think what she's holding on to is that it should be a standard for everyone, and that everyone in the race should release all their speeches. But I think she needs to do something there in releasing. Of course, what I might advise her to do is pack up every speech she gave in the last 3 years and send a bunch of boxes over and let people go through them.
And the turmoil in both parties and around the country has led again to talk of a third party. Michael Bloomberg, the former mayor of New York, is talking about it. Do you think that's very likely? And it's very difficult to run as a third party. I recall in 1980, President Carter faced a third-party challenge as well from John Anderson.
He did, and there was, John Anderson wanting to be in the debates and that type of thing. But I don't think Mayor Bloomberg was a fabulous mayor and has done some great things. But I do not think that he will get in unless it's a Sanders-Trump race. In fact, I know the people who are advising him, and we wouldn't see him begin to do that. But he'd have to do it by mid-March. He'd have to begin to get on the ballot by mid-March.
Bloomberg hurts the Democrats maybe more than the Republicans if he does get in and qualifies in enough states?
I think that's probably right.
So let's talk some more about what happened to the Bushes. This is a brand race. Donald Trump may be the first presidential candidate we've had that actually is his brand before he ever got into the race, and he's got a brand outside of politics. He's got his own university, which came up during the recent debate. He's got his own Air Force, for that matter, and certainly he's got a real estate and hotels and things like that. His brand he's done pretty well with right now. Now the Clintons have a brand too. If that becomes the fight, Donald Trump's already indicated he's going to go after the brand. He's had a pretty good success in destroying other candidates' brands. He
does. He destroyed the Bush brand, I think, by, he went after what he thought were weaknesses, whether it was low energy or George W.'s invasion into Iraq. He's gone after, I think, the Rubio brand in the last debate by trying to reinforce this idea that he has memorized speeches and that he's too young and he doesn't know anything about business. He's gone after the Cruz brand the strongest, I think, where he's gone straight to the evangelical truth-telling idea and called him a liar and really exposed his dirty tricks. I think the interesting thing, though, about the Trump brand, he talks about winning. And Ben Carson hit this a little bit in the closing of the last debate when he said, do you want a president that you can be an example for your children and you can be proud of? And the one thing I think we have to acknowledge, I think the Democrats will use, is that Donald Trump has won by doing everything we tell our children not to do. He has bullied, he has called people names, he has retweeted things he knows not to be true, and those are all things we are trying to get our children not to do.
As we close out, let me ask you a little bit about your former boss, Jimmy Carter. He's made a courageous, miraculous, it seems, almost fight against cancer. How's he doing right now? What's the latest you hear about his health?
Well, I actually talked to some folks this week, and he's doing great. He is living every day. He was cancer-free in January, and of course there'll be regular scans, but he's doing what Hamilton Jordan said that he always did, and that is he gets up every day wondering and figuring out how he can make the world a better place.
Now, he has become perhaps the most successful and highly regarded former president that we've ever had. He had obviously issues in the polls and things like that, and he did just serve one term. But what's been his secret to not letting not to let the fact that he got defeated for a second term by Ronald Reagan keep him from being embittered and sort of withdrawing from public life, the way other presidents perhaps have done in the past?
Well, I think, first, I think you see it in the title of Brinkley's book about him, The Unfinished Presidency. I think he saw that there were things that he couldn't do as an elected official around the world that he could do with the Carter Center. I think it took a little bit for him and for Rosalynn to figure out that that is where they wanted to spend their time and how they wanted to make a difference in the world. But it goes back to that commitment to using what you had, and in fact he talks about the presidency as a springboard to doing better things in the world. I think that was the secret.
Linda Peake Schacht, thank you so much for coming in. So many topics, so little time. And thank you for joining us this week on Inside Politics. Hope you'll be back here again for a future show. If you can't get enough politics in the meantime, go to the News Channel 5 website. You'll find my Capitol View commentary there. There's a new commentary posted every Friday afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you back here next time. Goodbye.